Who's here that lies within this then, and this is part of the Gospel of Luke, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. And so the importance of John the Baptist here, and again, do you think that there's an entire line, so to speak, that is connected with John the Baptist? Or?
Oh, I do think so, yes. I mean, as I've said, all the evidence that I've got points to Mary Magdalene being the daughter of John the Baptist.
Okay.
Now, John the Baptist was probably something like 14 years older than Jesus.
Okay.
So his daughter would have been, just about the right age to marry Jesus. And the point about it is that Anya, John the Baptist's wife, is called by him in one of his love poems to her, my pearl of Petra.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that puts us straight back into the Nabateans and the line of Petra.
Yes.
However, I can find no record that John, as such, ever became king of the Nabateans, or king of Petra.
Okay.
However, Anya is the name of one of the daughters of one of the King Aretas. I can't remember which one offhand it is. And it strikes me, therefore, likely that what actually happened, because that king only had daughters, so it's probable that he married his daughter off to John the Baptist, who was probably the Zadok priest of Petra.
Okay.
Now, one of the other things that's become very clear is that the Petrans were very much Zadoks as opposed to, shall we say, Sadducean-type Jews, okay? And the Zadok priesthood was the one that sort of, to a very large extent, I think, controlled things there. So wouldn't it be unsurprising if the daughter of the king married the high priest, and that they had then a daughter called Miriam.
Okay.
Now, what I've suggested is that, in point of fact, John, because he was not directly, what shall we say, he wasn't directly descended from the kings there, would have had to probably prove himself as, what shall we say, Prince Regent in the name of his wife.
Okay.
And the Bible suggests that John went into the desert and disappeared for years, etc., etc., etc. Why? Because they don't want to admit where he actually was, which was probably making a royal tour of the Nabatean and Sabbatean Empire, which extended right through into modern Ethiopia, and in fact included the hill fortress of what's now called Magdala.
Okay.
So, now, almost certainly he would have been accompanied by Anya, because after all, it wasn't in his own name that he was there, it was in only as her husband. So, my thinking on this is that therefore, whilst they were away, which probably took several years, a daughter was born to them into or near Magdala, and she was given the name of Miriam. She became known as Miriam of Magdala, or in English, Mary Magdalene.
Okay, gotcha.
So this is, as I say, this is the evidence that I have got, and one has to say that it is fairly minimal evidence, but such as it is, that's what it's pointing towards. Okay,
I see. And just to sneak that in there, I mean, the site, I think it's referred to as the cleft in the rock. Would you say that the site in Petra?
Sorry, what?
I'm talking about the site in Petra, that incredible church that is.
Oh, the treasury.
Carved into the rock. Would you say? Do you think that was the headquarters, so to speak, of the time of the Nabateans, or?
Well, it was. I mean, there's actually a very interesting show which you can pick up on one or other. In fact, I picked it up only today about Petra. I mean, Petra is about there are two complete cities there, of which this sort of famous rock carving known as the temple, known as the treasury, is only a very small part. I mean, it extends over something like 32 kilometers. And there is an upper and a lower city. And it was the headquarters of the Nabateans. And this is quite clear. I mean, that's we all know that. And that is quite clearly, archaeological finds and everything else. And indeed, of course, the Romans mentioned it, because the Romans took over Petra and the kingdom of Nabatea in, whatever it was, 32 AD or something, I can't remember. 32 BC, I beg your pardon.
Okay.
They, but it was a fantastic sort of a complete city. And then, of course, in 300 and something or other, there was an enormous earthquake, and half of the city was knocked down.
Yes.
And then in 525, I think it was, there was a second earthquake when the rest of the city basically disappeared in dust. But I mean, it was a fantastic city with a fantastic artisans and a wonderful culture, in fact, far higher than the Roman culture that took over.
That's interesting. And this is where the entire Petra dynasty, so to speak, probably were living, and that this is where their headquarters was, so to speak. And indeed,
and there's a thing called the Tomb of the Kings there, which presumably is where their kings were buried.
Okay. Very, very interesting. I mean, again, it's a wonderful site. I haven't been there myself yet. I hope to go there someday just to check it out, to see how big it is, and just see the incredible architecture that obviously is carved right into the rock. It's an incredible site. Have you been there, by the way?
No, I haven't. I mean, I was supposed to go there this year, but for reasons, various and sundry reasons, I couldn't get there.
Okay.
Because I really wanted to go and see it. But having just seen this fantastic slideshow on the internet, I realized that probably because you have to go you have to do an awful lot of walking there, and I'm not quite sure that in my arthritic state I'm up to doing it anymore.
Ah, okay. Well, that's a shame.
But,
yeah.
There we are.
Okay. Okay. So we have many threads here, so to speak, that we can go off on tangents here to tie this together and speak more about this. I want to ask you a little bit more generally, I guess, if we tie it back again to Montgomery. Do you know if your family then has a specific lineage that is connected with the dynasties and the bloodlines that we have been talking about so far?
Well, let's put it this way: the Montgomerys were close cousins. In fact, they were third cousins to the family of the Dukes of Normandy. Okay? And the Dukes of Normandy, as I've shown in my second book, The God Kings of England, descend from a guy called Ragnar Lothbrok, or Heraldus Brockus. He's got Harold Hisseltine, he's got various names, Heraldus Brockus, etc. And the Montgomerys equally well descend from him. The first Montgomery's name was actually Ragnar Gormson, which became Latinized as Rogerius Gormericus. And eventually, when they built a little sort of hill fort in Normandy, and it became known as Mons Gormerici. And so we get the name Montgomery from there.
Okay, that's interesting, and that's something I want to talk more about later on, maybe in the program, a little bit more about the possible importance of that, and why people even put the focus on this as they do. But we can return to that a little bit later and talk more about that. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the possible connections then between some of the I guess we can refer to them as the Scandinavian lines here, and let's take the Petran dynasty or some other more Middle Eastern line. Where do you have any clear idea about when there was communication here? Were someone going from the west to the east, so to speak, or the other way around? Okay. What happened here?
All right, let's
It's a tough question, I know.
Well, it's a tough question for the sense that as you know, this book, The God Kings of Outremer, is the last book of a trilogy. Okay? Now, the trilogy goes from roughly 1100 BC to 1100 AD. And book one, which is The God Kings of Europe, starts off with the Kassite dynasty of Babylon.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the first